Howdy, y'all. Howdy. Howdy is a bit more Texan, isn't it? Hi, y'all. I suppose they say that in Florida. And welcome to the Race Notebook for the 2023 Miami Grand Prix, where really the only sort of stress extended was probably on this pit wall between Adrian Newey and Christian Horner and working out which one of their drivers was going to win the race. And it was an easy decision, really, because Max Verstappen, with the contra strategy, starting on the hard tyre, putting on the medium tyre later, Sergio Perez doing the other thing, was always really in control and was always going to end up behind Sergio Perez, but with the fresher tyre, I mean, was it really hardly a competition? Sergio tried his best, but from pole position, was clearly powerless as he looked after his tyres early on and just faced with a quicker Verstappen. And I thought it was redemption, wasn't it? That was really what Max Verstappen was on about. He said much better than yesterday. Having not got that, he was so annoyed with himself as much as anything else. Having not got that lap done in qualifying, having lost the pole to Sergio Perez and starting ninth. Oh, the indignity of ninth. It's just good for Max. He was well motivated to get that Miami Dolphins running back or quarterback or whatever it is helmet and the Ferrari and the Vino and the trophies, which look pretty cool, don't they, for Max and the shot. Might want in there, but anyway, that's a good idea. Yeah, it was Max Perez second. Sergio got a start and broke away from Fernando. Not enough really, as Max Verstappen was into P4. All Max had, and all Max had to worry about was a bit of an upshift issue. He was actually offered a solution by Giampiero Lambiase, his engineer, halfway, more or less 3/4 of the way through. Then just used his pure pace on the fresher tyre to get past Checo. Checo was, I don't know, what's Spanish for sanguine afterwards. The only consolation his engineer could say was, oh well, some good points for us, good points for the championship. Yes, they still believe they are in for the championship, and they have to be. So Sergio didn't take the opportunity to take the championship lead today, but a tough weekend, but good points. Christian Horner said thank you for being fair with the racing. You guys were great today. And yeah, Max Verstappen was just happy, I think, to be there. I thought it kind of summed up the Miami weekend that Red Bull's chief marketing officer was on the podium. Yeah, they've certainly had some good marketing, as Formula One has had some good marketing here this weekend. Listen, we didn't get the crash fest, lots of people retiring, crazy race that maybe the crowd would have loved and might have lived up to some of the hype. But I think we did just about get enough entertaining overtaking, some fights. There were lots of overtaking here and there. And in a town like Miami, where seemingly people are doing quite well for themselves, and really is the financial capital of South America, so I thought this was interesting. Speaking to a lot of local people, they were, a lot of South American companies, pretty much, well, most of them, have their kind of financial headquarters here in Miami. I thought was interesting. Yeah, when a town where people are doing well for themselves, there is a pretty expensive car park, one to rival some of the Ferraris and Lambos and all the Maseratis you see on the grid. Now, what did you think of the grid? We can come back here, Pete. I think we're all right there. We'll leave Parc Fermé as Parc Fermé after what happened last year, our last race. What did you think of the grid spectacular? I've got to tell you, that stage and the surround took quite a long time to rig. You had to get power, 3-phase power. It had to be strapped down because of the wind. They had to get all the seats for the 24-piece orchestra. They had to make sure LL Cool J and Wyclef Jean, not Wyclef Jean, will.i.am were happy. And then they de-rigged it, actually, in record speed. That was the most interesting. I think maybe if I changed anything, would have been the time at which they spent introducing the drivers and the sort of awkward, you know, and now from Évreux in Normandy, it's a place in northern France, Esteban Ocon. And he's like, oh, hello, you know, it's like, get them out quicker, get them out, come on, let's have some waves and high fives and together. I thought they were going to come out in pairs. I thought we were going to have the Brits, the rookies, the world champions, and then the top three. What happened to that? Did that happen? Did I miss that? I don't think I did. So anyway, that was so a work in progress, I think you'd call it probably. Right, anything else on Red Bull particularly? No. Oh yeah, I know. The answer that you're all after as to where the freight goes is on these packing cases that have just gone past me. Where do they just go, Pete? Can you see on the packing cases? So the sea freight that I spoke about at the last race is now, where do those big packing cases gone? They went straight through. So the sea freight is road freight. So for here, it goes by road from Miami to Canada, the Canadian Grand Prix. So the sea freight, road freight, not the stuff they air freight around the world, goes from here to Canada in June, and then it goes by road and is stored for the Texan Grand Prix in Austin, and then it goes by road from Austin to Las Vegas. So this sea freight, I might do this as a regular thing. This road freight, this sea freight is road freight. Does that make sense? And yeah, it does 4 races: Miami, Canada, Austin, and Las Vegas. I was saying that because I saw some Red Bull packing cases that went past with that on the side. Maybe we'll see some later. Right, Ferrari, and with Imola next, and there's been quite a lot of heavy rain apparently in Emilia-Romagna, and so part of the Imola circuit has been a little bit flooded. So I hope it's all right by the time we get there. Well, I hope everyone's all right there anyway. Ferrari are going to have to shift some particularly heavy water of their own, sorry, bad pun, because they were back in trouble today, and that was really unfortunate for them because it was the tyres. Once again, it seems like they haven't really found any pace from anywhere. Oh dear, lots of work. Sainz 5th, Leclerc 7th. Sainz right behind Fernando Alonso on the first stint, but couldn't pass. Arguably, maybe mullered his tyres a bit and then locked them up coming into the pit lane and got himself a 5-second penalty, which was very unfortunate for speeding in the pit lane after pitting on lap 19. As for Charles Leclerc, he ran P6, but really was a sitting duck to Lewis Hamilton on Hamilton's newer medium tyres towards the end, and then dropped down to P7, did Leclerc, and Sainz settled on P5, but Hamilton couldn't take advantage of. There you go, there you got your sea shipment. Right, you found it. So it went from Red Bull racing in Milton Keynes. It was sea freighted to Miami, then it goes road freight to Montreal, road freight to Texas, and then road freight to Nevada, Las Vegas. There you go, you thought I was making it up, didn't you? Well, I hope you didn't, because that would be an odd thing to want to make up. What would I have gained from that lie? Nothing. Hello, my sir. Hello, sir. How are you doing? Good, good, good. How are you? Right, so yeah, that was Ferrari really today, and yeah, lots of work. But on a day where yesterday they were all over the place and couldn't really understand why they were so slow, Mercedes had a case of the Miami redemption. The Miami redemption? Doesn't really work, does it? Doesn't start with an S. But anyway, yeah, it was a bit of redemption, not only for Max Verstappen, but also for Mercedes today, because it was much better. Lewis Hamilton finished 6th, George Russell off the podium in 4th, Russell up to 5th early on, fought with Gasly and Verstappen, but was passed by Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton was stuck in Bottas's DRS train and just had to go very long while all around it, and lost time really with that, had to go long. George, on the other hand, pitted on lap 18 and was eased past Lewis Hamilton by the team who was going long, so that was a very natural decision, but they were thanked for that on the radio afterwards. Lewis pitted on lap 38, moved up the order, but wasn't able to benefit from Sainz's 5-second penalty. George's meme with "That's how we roll," which everybody liked. I think they've struggled to understand why they were so far off, but at least on the radio I can tell you what they said afterwards. Lewis, the strategy worked against us, but still a great race. Lewis said, yeah, a tough one. Thanks for your combined efforts, guys. We work together as a team always. So George, Andrew Shovlin came onto the radio specifically to thank Lewis Hamilton for letting George pass on a different strategy. Right, let's do Alpine next, because they've scored points with both cars. And while that might make for a positive sounding press release, I'm not sure it's all positive here. And in fact, I need to read and understand the Laurent Rossi interview in French to our colleagues on Canal Plus, because apparently it was a real doozy, as they say around here, where he's just criticised the team not being quick enough and having a nightmare last time in Baku. Well, it was better here, but still, they're not as quick. If Alpine's stated aim at the start of the season was to cement P4 in the constructors and get closer to P3, they are miles off. And Rossi is absolutely right that they need to get their act together and get quicker. Now, there are signs that they're doing that, and was Laurent Rossi's ire sparked by Luca De Meo, the Renault boss? Was it having a go or a motivation at Otmar Zaf now? It's really weird to read, and so that's why I want to read the article itself and sort of see exactly what it was, see if you can tell the motivation. Or was he just being brutally honest to the French broadcaster? I think probably all of those things. But anyway, as I say, it was a double points finish today. Good start from Gasly up to P4, and then dropped down the order after that, pitted on lap 16. As for Esteban Ocon, he went longer on the hard tyre to lap 41, joined behind Lewis Hamilton, and as Gasly dropped down, Ocon moved up on the medium tyre. So they kind of came really migrated together. Migrated, there you go, there's an F1 phrase for you. They really migrated together, and Ocon was the first of the hard starters on the grid, and they finished 8th and 9th, not too far apart, really. So that was it. They'll say that was a good one, but really, when you look at Aston Martin, might even be third in the Constructors' Championship at the end of the season. So Ferrari or Mercedes might drop down to fourth, depending on how it goes. And then it's really McLaren. It's looking like Alpine are going to drop down to fifth. But we will see how the season goes. Let's do McLaren, then we'll take a break. And they started on a soft tyre, which is brave. I think maybe they were after an early safety car that would see them off that tyre quite quickly, but it really didn't work for them. In fact, it hurt them quite badly because they had to go into 2 stops quite quickly early on. Early Lando Norris and Nick De Vries came together, but I don't think there was any contact. Lando pitted and then dropped down, was from P19, pitted on lap 5. Oscar Piastri pitted on lap 6 onto the hard tyres and then went to the end. So when you consider you're going soft for a very short stint and then the hard tyre to the end, it's a bit ambitious and it didn't really work. So it kind of explains why they're 17th for Lando and 19th for Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri did have his problems. He had a long brake pedal. It was a software thing, systems thing, not actually a mechanical thing. There's nothing they could do about it. And that explained why, with his problems, Piastri dropped to 23 seconds behind Nick De Vries in second last. McLaren have struggled all weekend on a low grip circuit. The car likes to brake in a straight line, turn, and then accelerate on a nice grippy circuit. That's not what we have here. It's a slippery track. It's been freshly laid. Car doesn't like it when you have to go through the corners, a bit like that. Sorry, I know how ridiculous it looks like. It much prefers that. And this circuit was just the worst, really, layout in terms of circuit design and corner profile and tarmac for McLaren. So they will hope for better in Imola. Right, we will take a break as we see a McLaren coming down the pit lane. And maybe as these boys are busy, we'll go into the paddock for the final 5 teams. More Notebook in a bit. Hiya, welcome back to the race notebook from the 2023 Miami Grand Prix here in Miami, Florida at the Hard Rock Stadium, which ironically I don't think it has a Hard Rock restaurant in it. Bit odd that. Fancied a hamburger and a milkshake. Did you ever get one, Pete? How is it for 5 days here? I never got a hamburger and a milkshake. What's going on? Right, let's do. We even went for Japanese last night, you know. Right, let's do. No, that's Lando. Oh, there you go. There's Lando's beach ball helmet design. You see it at the back there. A bit of light relief for Lando in an otherwise miserable weekend. Right, let's do, put it mildly, let's do Alfa Romeo Sauber, who aimed for the points today and really deserves some. Valtteri Bottas has kind of been on it all weekend, so it's pretty disappointing for them. They didn't manage to get any. Valtteri Bottas 13th, Zhou Guanyu 16th, and Valtteri held people up in P10. I think you could say that was sort of created a DRS train behind him. And Zhou could only go to lap 32 on the hard, and then had to go to the rest on the medium, which really is a compromised strategy. And Zhou really suffered from that at the end with his mediums wearing out. Valtteri Bottas, as I say, was P10, but then lost grip and dropped down to P13 and finished 9 seconds off a point. So, well, I'm glad they're happy, because I don't think many other people are in this team. Zhou was really compromised by that strategy and was only P16. So, yeah, bad luck to Valtteri, who he was up for it. I saw him before the grid. He was really up for a point today, and he might consider that he deserved one. There's a good saying in that rosé bar, Pete. It's a particularly good sort of what does it say? Oh yeah, bienvenue la fête. I like that. Bienvenue à la fête, which I think means welcome to the party. Does it not? Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was like a bit, a bit Del Boy. Bienvenue à la fête, Rodney. Bienvenue à la fête. Anyway, I meant to show you something earlier. Okay, Aston Martin and P3. Fernando Alonso back on the podium. So there you go, that's better. The podium run might have ended at Baku, but they put it right now, and he is back on the podium. And that's fantastic. They're all very happy about that, as you can imagine. Fernando Alonso went long. He was losing some time, but actually it was fine. He had the pace. He was stuck behind Carlos. Sorry, he was ahead of Carlos Sainz early on. No, he wasn't. He was ahead of Carlos Sainz. That's right. Sainz couldn't get close to him. So yeah, it was a bit of a lonely race. He got back past Sainz after Sainz undercut him, ran P3 and had a lonely race to P3. Did Fernando Alonso, 20 seconds, finishing 20 seconds behind Sergio Perez and 7 ahead of George Russell. Lance Stroll, disappointed for him. He's 12th. It was a hard tyre start. He went to lap 45. He pitted and rejoined in P15. He made his way past Bottas and Alex Albon to P12, but is frustrated and will have been frustrated at that, because really it all started in qualifying yesterday when they made a mistake. They didn't do 2 soft tyre runs in Q1, and that really compromised them. When you start down there, that's kind of 12th is one of the best you can do, even in a car that was good enough for P3 and the podium today. Haas F1, K-Mag got a point, and that is great. After being 4th on the grid and, the highest Grand Prix grid position, not the pole for the sprint in Brazil that K-Mag has ever had, it was good for them, thank heavens, that for Gunther Steiner's peace of mind, they actually got a point, because if they come away with nothing from P4 on the grid, I think he probably would have spontaneously combusted. So well done, for Kevin Magnussen. Even though he lost 2 places at the start, he pitted on lap 15 and then dropped to P10, defended against Bottas, but then Bottas faded, then defended against Yuki Tsunoda and rounded out P10. Well done, Kevin Magnussen. Nico Hülkenberg, bit compromised. A hard tyre start, pitted onto the medium, and then just went to the end. I think he had an issue, actually, because at the end of the race, Hülkenberg's engineer said, don't press the throttle too hard, we have an issue. And you're not going to get very fast. Even an idiot like me knows that if you don't press the throttle too hard, you might slow down a bit. I know what he meant. He meant there's some spike in a power delivery, which meant that he needed to be a bit easy on throttle coming out of a couple of corners, because he was nursing a problem. As for AlphaTauri, here we are. Nick De Vries, 18th. Yuki Tsunoda, 11th. Poor Yuki. After a couple of races in P10, he's just finished a few seconds out of the points today. De Vries came together at the start, clonked, had no damage. Yuki Tsunoda pitted on lap 37 down to P14, but fought back and got past Valtteri Bottas quite easily on fresher tyres. Chased Kevin Magnussen, but missed a point by just 1.3 seconds. Oh, Yuki, 1.3 seconds he missed a point by. So, yeah, tough luck for him. Better from De Vries, a better weekend from Nick De Vries, who's been very much under pressure in this team. A bit funny-looking Haas mechanics here. What are they doing? Must be the. Oh, I say. Oh. Only joking. That's our behind-the-scenes crew for the feature in Imola. Working hard. It's going to be a good feature, so watch out for that in Imola a couple of weeks. There's some really good stuff. We could make a 3-hour-long documentary from that. We probably won't. It'll probably be an hour. But anyway, right. So Nick De Vries, better weekend from him all round, I think. Finished 1.2 seconds behind Lando Norris in P18. I know P18 doesn't sound like a better weekend, but believe me, it is for Nick De Vries. And finally, Williams. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess there's enough for a thumbs up there, just about. Alex Albon, 14th. Logan Sargent 20th. Let's do Logan Sargent first of all, because I don't want to end on a downer. He came together, damaged his front wing on the first lap, had to pit for a new one. I'm sorry, he said at the time. Don't worry, they said, Logan, your home race, listen, enjoy it, go and see what you can do. But it could do no better than 20th and last. And I've just seen him actually when I came through the stadium to come out and meet Pete to do the notebook. He's so gutted, and he said on the radio afterwards to Logan, guys, I am so sorry. Listen, you know, we'll give him that. It's learning. Have a cup of cha. Go to that urn, Logan, and have a cup of tea, son, and you'll be all right. A nice Williams cup of tea, and you'll be all right, because his chin's on the floor. He's really unhappy. Finished last. But it was a bit better for Alex Albon. He went long to lap 23, pitted onto the hard, then had a disagreement with the team about how much he should chase Valtteri Bottas. They wanted him to chase, and he thought he should save the tyres. In the end, he finished 1.2 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas. So who's right? I don't know. Both of them probably. Alex would probably argue that he was right because he was able to finish so close behind Bottas. And the team might say, well, had you pushed a bit closer, you might have be able to got Bottas at the end. After all, Alex, you were only 1.2 seconds behind him at the end. But considering that it's only fighting for 13th and 14th, there were no points in it. So maybe it was no harm, no foul, right, as they say in the Hard Rock Stadium. So we will say goodbye to Miami for another year. Thank you very much for the entertainment. Thank you for the hype. We all enjoyed it. Hope we could convey all that to you at home on television. Maybe it wasn't the most action-packed or thrilling Grand Prix you've ever seen in your life, but I hope they enjoyed it. I think there was enough to keep the crowd interested. They saw Checo Perez in P2, and there was a large Mexican contingent in the grandstand that I could see at least. And I hope you enjoyed it at home. But we will see you, floodwaters allowing, at Imola in a couple of weeks' time. So, yeah, we'll say farewell from Miami. See you again in a couple of weeks' time. Bye-bye, everyone. Oh, not the escalator again, Pete.
Sky Sports F1. Feel it all.